everybody, it's Courtney from Your House Fitness, and today we are going to do a prenatal stretch flow series, okay? As you can see here, prenatal is all I've been doing lately, okay? So we're basically just gonna go through some safe stretches, basically a routine that you can do. A couple of things to avoid if you wanna add to the routine. Do not be doing exercises where you're obviously laying on your stomach when you're into your second and third trimester, okay? For obvious reasons, okay? And also you're not gonna wanna spend too much time on your back. So there's some knowledge out there that when you start to get a little bit heavier here, your uterus is gonna push on your vena cava, your inferior vena cava, and can cut off blood supply, can make you really dizzy, make you feel nauseous, that sort of thing. So a couple of minutes is probably fine, but everybody's gonna be different, okay? So we're gonna avoid anything on our stomachs and anything on our backs in this routine today, okay? So I'm gonna start with some chest opening things. So sometimes I find it's easier for me to wanna stay like this. It's just a more comfortable position, but we still need to be mindful about posture, okay? So I'm gonna start off with my band here. Some of you guys have probably already done this before, but I'm just gonna do what are called up and overs, okay? So my first couple of stretches are all gonna be pretty much upright, okay? So nice and easy. You can use a broomstick if you have it at home, but basically I'm gonna use an overhand grip on this double band, or so loop band, I should say, okay? Basically, you're gonna start like this. Make sure you have some outward pressure. So I'm gonna engage my lats and my shoulders this way. And as I'm lifting up and over, I'm maintaining that outward pressure, okay? I wouldn't, at this point in the game, go too crazy here. So this is not a competition or a time to start to set, personal best records here, okay? But basically, I'm just gonna come here. It feels really good. And I'm gonna come back over. With all stretching, I wouldn't recommend obviously pushing to the point of discomfort or pain. Just remember that you have a lot more relaxin in your body, which generally creates more joint instability. So what you might think is you being like, I'm extra flexible, is actually you compromising your joints. So as long as everything feels good and you don't feel like you're stretching inside the joint, you're probably good. Just remember, not a time for competition stretching here, okay? All right. No yoga competitions with your friends. All right, I'm gonna take this band here and I'm just gonna start with my pull aparts, okay? So I use a loop band here that you guys can get from Your House Fitness, okay? I think this is the second level one. I like this one's my favorite. So I'm gonna start with this out in front of me, overhand grip, okay? I'm gonna start and make sure that I can get a little bit of tension. So same idea, I wanna be able to pull the band apart, come into my chest or my upper chest area, squeeze my shoulder blades in the back and come back out. But this time I'm not gonna go all the way back to the front. I'm gonna stop out here, okay, about a 45-degree angle, so I can keep pressure in my rear delts, or resistance, I should say. And basically, I'm just gonna try to activate my shoulders. So you might be like, hey Courtney, this isn't a stretch. You're right, but without some activation of some of those postural muscles, you can stretch all day and you're gonna suffer from poor muscle activation and neural communication there. Oh, so I'm gonna go for about 10. So 10 is the magic number with the up and overs and with our band pull aparts, okay? From here, I'm gonna hit my deep squat. So this is one of my favorites. Make sure you've got comfy pants on, that's all I can say. I tried with some like low cut old yoga pants that I had to pee right away, okay? So these are nice and comfy, they come up pretty high, okay? So I'm gonna come on down, get my nice deep squat, okay? Now, great stretch for everybody, but especially for ladies that are, getting a little closer to labor. So I'm gonna come on down, my heels must be on the floor. You can go as wide as you'd like with your feet, but general rule of thumb is that the heels are pretty much under your sit bones, so they're lining up with my bum, basically, okay? If you go too wide, you might actually feel some groin straining, so I wouldn't recommend pushing through that. But right now, I just feel a good stretch through my adductors, okay, and kind of like the inner hamstring muscle, if you will. I also like to use my arms, so I'm gonna push my knees even wider with my elbows, and I'm gonna do my figure eights here, okay? So I'm just shifting weight from left to right, okay? I'm trying to keep myself as upright as I possibly can, okay? So through my thoracic spine here. I realize that some of you get a little bit bigger through the belly. It might be harder to get into this position. You feel free to hold on to something. You can hold the edge of a couch, a bar, anything, and you can lean back. And that should help you take some of the weight or any pressure that you're feeling from your abdomen, okay? And again, I do this for about a minute, okay? So I just have a stopwatch running here, but you can do whatever you like here. But I recommend about a minute, okay? And just take it easy. Make sure you focus on breathing. Another thing that comes up a lot is holding your breath. This is not the time for that, so do try to make sure that you are taking deep breaths, okay? And that you're not holding your breath because it's not painful, but uncomfortable. How about that, okay? All right, so there's my minute deep squat here, okay? And then I'm gonna head into pigeon. So I'm gonna come on down on the floor here. You can do this elevated, you can do this on the back of a couch, a chair, a bench, and this is the floor version, okay? So I do find I have been getting really tight through my hips here, obviously not from sitting, just from my expanding belly, and pressure through my pelvis. So this one has been a big relief for me. This is just regular old pigeon, okay? So a couple of things. First thing I'm gonna do is just basically get one of my legs in the front here. I'm gonna start on the right side. That's usually the side that's tighter for me. I'm going to first flex my toe up towards my knee, okay? It's a safety mechanism for the knee. And then I'm gonna try to stretch my back leg back as far as I possibly can, okay? If this is good for you and you feel this in your right hip and glute area, then you can hang out here. But if you want a little bit more, you might wanna try to come on down. Again, it depends how big your belly is, okay? I totally get that. So for me, I'm gonna try to come on down a little bit and see if I can get a little more into that glute and hip. And there we go, I feel that for sure. So I'm just gonna kind of roll or rock just a little bit. Again, be careful with that, okay? I'm not doing any jerky motions, but I just want to see where the biggest stretch is for me. And then usually I'm like, aha, there it is. If I lean out a little bit, aha. But basically this is acceptable and this is acceptable. And you can even lay right down if you can get all the way down there, but I cannot, so. So I'm gonna hold this for about 30 to 45 seconds. Just deep breath in, deep breath out, okay? And then of course, whatever you do to one side, make sure you do to the other. So I'm gonna bring that other leg up, and again, get myself comfortable, pull my toes up, stretch that back leg out, and here we go. So again, if this is good enough for you, that's fine, just stay here. But if you can handle a little bit more, you need a little bit more to feel the stretch right here, then you're just gonna come on down and see if you can get a little more weight into that hip. Again, I do like to kind of not just rock gently, just to see if maybe if I just rotate, you know, that extra 10, 20 degrees, I can actually feel more of a stretch. Everybody's different, right? You might have wider hips, narrower hips, so you kind of have to play around until you get the best stretch for yourself, okay? And again, it's about 30 to 45 seconds. If you've got a lot of time and you like the stretch feel for you could hold it longer, but I would generally recommend you repeat the circuit rather than just hold it longer. For a few reasons. Usually, once you've done a few other things, once you come back to that stretch, you might actually realize that you can go a little deeper, okay? Once you've taken a break. All right, I'm gonna head into my good old friend cat-cow here, okay? For some of you, you're gonna get a little heavier through the chest, okay? So you might start to notice that it is affecting your posture. So be very mindful of that. Make sure you're still doing a lot of stretching for the upper back and chest area. So I'm gonna take a deep breath in, and then as I exhale, I'm going to suck my belly as best I can up towards my spine, towards the ceiling, and tuck my chin. Okay, so there's our cat as I'm exhaling, and inhaling as I'm coming out of that, okay? So let's do that a few times. Inhale here, and then exhale into the cat position, okay? Give me 3 more reps for now. Two more. All right, and 1 more. All right. So, feels pretty good. Those shoulder blades were nice and tight here. All right. The next one I'm going to do is for my hip flexors, which have, I think, been hating my life for a little while, okay? So we're going to do what's called a runner's lunge. You might want a little bit of extra padding here, okay? That's up to you. Just depends how hard the floor is, okay? But basically, you're going to plant one of your knees here and take a nice big step forward. So we've done this a few other times. There's a few other tutorials for this particular stretch on Your House Fitness, okay? But just be really mindful that you don't strain anything, okay? So again, I can't stress this enough. It's not the time to be like, hey, look at me. No. First thing that you want to do though, of course, is make sure you understand that posterior pelvic tilt. So remember, this isn't about doing the splits. You're trying to stretch your hip flexor, your psoas, okay? So basically make sure that you tuck your butt and you squeeze that butt cheek. So for me, if my left leg's in the back, I'm going to tuck, squeeze, and then I can push forward. But now that my pelvis is tucked posteriorly, I don't have a lot of room to go forward. That's the point. If you find that you're doing the splits and you're down here, you miss the posterior tilt, okay? So get that tuck, squeeze that butt cheek, and then push that hip forward from there. And you should still be upright. So again, if you notice that you're not upright, you're leaning forward, or you're way down over here doing the splits, you miss something. You miss this, okay? So tuck. All right, oh, it feels good. So you should feel this here, okay? So up through the front of the back leg. And then you can add all sorts of things. Some people like to do sweeping motions. They reach this arm up and tilt over. This will help you stretch a little bit into the TFL, which is right here. It's the muscle that attaches to the IT band, okay? But it's up to you. So you decide how much you can push here. Don't hurt yourself. But again, just focus. I usually do this for about a minute, but you could do less if it's too intense for you. So we'll say anywhere from 45 seconds to 1 minute per side, okay? Oh, it feels so good. Another alternative addition, I guess, to this would be you can elevate the back foot. So some people like to do stuff like this, okay? So like they'll pull the foot up. Just be really mindful of your knee and your kneecap. If you feel any discomfort or pain, especially in the knee, don't do it. Like just back off and this will be fine for all of us, okay? From here, before I switch to the other side, I'm going to do my hamstring. Might as well, I'm already here. So I'm going to basically shimmy out my front leg, heel down, toe up, until I'm pretty straight. Now this, remember, I'm pretty short, so this might look easy to you, but honestly, when you get there, if you're taller than me, you might not have a perfectly straight leg, and that's totally okay. Don't worry about it. If this is too low for you to go, you can prop your hands up on yoga blocks, pillows, whatever you've got at home, books, so that you stay higher, okay? For now, at this point in the game, for me, I can bend forward a little bit more, okay? So basically, I'm gonna do what are called pumping the gas pedals, okay? So I'm going to just point my toe as best I can, and then flex all the way back, okay? I have noticed with the weight that I've gained being pregnant, I have been much tighter in my calves than I usually have ever been in my entire life. So a suggestion here would be make sure you've got really good, comfortable, well-fitting shoes, and make sure you're doing a lot of mobility work. So stretching the calves, the ankle mobility, hamstrings for sure, and hip flexors. I do about 10 of these, okay? Oh boy, yeah, can definitely tell how tight I got there. And you should feel this anywhere up the back of the leg, okay? And when you point the toe, this is a tibialis anterior stretch. Some of you may feel this and be like, oh my God, what's going on? And some of you might be able to get your toe all the way to the ground and feel nothing. So don't worry too much. As long as everything's feeling okay, we're good to go. All right, so that's my sequence with my left leg in the back. I'm gonna switch it up and let's do the other side. All right, so again, first things first, get myself into position here. And then basically make sure I can get that posterior tilt. So I'm gonna basically exaggerate. I'm gonna stick my butt back, and then I'm gonna swing forward and tuck. Because again, everything, especially in terms of stretching, is reciprocal inhibition, right? So if I wanna stretch my hip flexor or the front of my hip, I have to activate the back of my hip. So that's why I'm squeezing my butt and pushing my hip forward, okay? It's also a protective mechanism so that you don't go too far. I'm gonna add the arm on this side as well. And then make sure that you're focused on your breathing. Deep breath in, deep breath out, okay? If you, after doing the posterior tilt, can push forward a little bit more, by all means, go right ahead. But you kind of gauge based on how you feel. I'm tighter on this leg, I can feel it in that hip flexor. So, oh my God. So I'm not really gonna go as far, I don't think I need to. But yeah, that feels pretty good. Oh my goodness. I swear, even if you do this every day, it feels like some days you haven't done this in forever. Oh, the joys of being pregnant, yes. All right, so once you've done about a minute, 45 seconds to a minute of this one here, you're gonna transition into the hamstring forward fold on the other side, okay? And again, remember what I said, feel free to use props, okay? If you feel like bending this forward is too hard for you, okay? But again, what we're gonna do is pumping the gas pedal, okay? So I'm just gonna push my toe towards the ground, and then I'm gonna bring it all the way back. And I'm trying to go through the greatest range of motion I possibly can. Oh, my Achilles is not, oh, it's tight on this side. Whew. Yeah. So this is why you're doing all of this, to be mindful, to check in with your body here, see how everything's feeling. I didn't know I was that tight in that calf until right now. But this feels pretty good and generally pretty safe, so. Oh my goodness. Good, we got 3 more here. Good, 2, and 1 more. All right, the last few here. It's gonna sound pretty funny, but most of these are associated with getting you ready for labor. All right, so we're gonna do our basic old boring butterfly stretch, okay? Great stretch though, especially if you are carrying a lot of tension through your adductors, which are here, inner thigh, okay, and groin. So remember, feet together, I'm gonna walk my butt as close to my heels as I can, okay? A couple of no-nos with this stretch would be grabbing the toes and cranking your ankles back like this. Okay, be careful, be very careful with this. Remember the point or the objective of the stretch is inner thigh groin stretching, okay? If you're doing this and cranking and feeling this on the outside of your ankles, you missed the point, okay? So grab your ankles or your toes if you can avoid doing that pull, and basically just try to sit up as tall as you can and push your knees down, okay? So from here, some people do like to move in this stretch. I'm okay with that as long as you feel safe and you feel like you're controlling the movement. Again, always focus on the breathing. Deep breath in and deep breath out. And every time you exhale, if you can go a little deeper into the stretch, you should try. So I'm gonna go a little bit closer now that I've been in the stretch for about 20 seconds. And same thing, just pushing those knees down. Beautiful. Again, I would say anywhere from 45 seconds to about a minute. Focusing on the breathing, okay? And then all I'm gonna do to transition out of this is stick a leg out, tuck my other leg in, and I'm ready for what's called a QL bend or QL bend stretch. Some people know this as a modified hurdler stretch, a dancer stretch. It has many names, but we'll just show you what I mean. So basically, I'm going to reach towards this foot here, and I'm going to take my arm on the bent leg side. Okay, so in my case, it's my left side, and I'm gonna go up and over, okay? Be careful with side bending, be careful with dropping the head if you get dizzy, but basically in yoga or Pilates, we'll do something like this where you make an orb. Otherwise, you can just grab your leg and bring this arm up and over. You wanna be looking at stretching here. So I'm stretching obliques, my QL is on the back side, I know you can't see it from here. And this whole area here. I'm also trying to keep my knee pushed down so that I can get more of a stretch through there, okay? For some of you guys that are really tight in the hamstrings and calves, you might feel this here while you're doing this and be like, hey Court, this is definitely more of a hamstring stretch. It might be for you. Nothing wrong with that. Bonus, see? Bonus stretch. But I do want you just to do the best you can to focus on trying to open up through that left side here, okay? Again, for this one, same thing. I would really say that the magic number is generally 45 seconds to 60 seconds for most people. Just take your time. If you want to do the circuit again, you could shorten the first round, do 30 seconds in exercise, and then repeat it. But that's up to you, okay? And then I'm going to come back to center, switch my legs, and I'm ready to go with the other side. So same thing, okay? I'm going to reach for my foot, up and over. Oh, yeah, we are tighter on this side, okay. So, yeah, you definitely realize that you walk around crooked sometimes, oh my God. But yeah, just make sure that you're focused on breathing. Make sure that nothing hurts. Don't force yourself through any particular range of motion, okay? After this, we're just gonna do a couple more. Oh my goodness. Coming on back to center. And I'm just gonna grab this ball here behind me. So if you don't have a ball, you can order these. They're not very expensive. I think I got mine for $5, honestly. Otherwise, you could use a chair or something that's about the same height, okay? But I'll just show you what I'm looking at or looking for, and then you can see what you've got in your house that might be similar to this, okay? So this is my straddle or Straddler Stretch, okay? This is more, again, hamstrings, adductors, so inner thigh area, toes up, okay? So here's number one rule. If you're rolling forward and your toes are rolling with you, not correct. Toes up in this case, okay? So plant those heels, go as wide as you can, hands on the ball or the chair, whatever you got, and I'm basically just gonna try to reach forward. I can't go very far for obvious reasons, so do the best you can. And I'm just gonna either roll the ball, or if you're on a chair, just go to the edge of the chair on the right, and then go to the edge of the chair on the left, okay? So I'm basically just gonna roll side to side, nothing too crazy, but I can really feel that I am definitely tighter on one side over the other, so I'm sure that'll be you as well. And then basically I'm gonna take the ball or the chair, okay? And this will be the last one that I would suggest here in this particular flow. And we're gonna do a child's pose, but my recommendation, again, for a lot of people that I've worked with that have been pregnant, I get dizzy if I put my forehead to the floor. So I'm gonna keep my head up a little bit more. So I'm gonna basically do an elevated child's pose. So if you remember, child's pose is this one where you're gonna come on down like this, but my hands are elevated, which I find helps me. And plus I can get a little deeper into the stretch. All right, so here we go. Deep breath in. Again, if you're using a chair, you won't be able to roll, but do the best you can to basically just extend yourself as far as you possibly can. Make sure that you aren't gonna fall off the chair and hit your face on the floor. Okay, that's kind of important. But basically, I'm just gonna start like that. I realize my bum is not touching my heels like in regular child's pose, but for me, this makes a difference here. I can actually feel way more up into my lats and my tricep area. Okay, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. Plus, again, do what you need to do. I'm sure your body's very different than it was before you got pregnant, right? So, this way here. There we go. Now, depending on how stable you feel, you can take one hand off, okay? And reach it this way. This is called thread the needle, okay? So something like this. But again, be careful. Make sure you feel safe and sturdy there. And other side. And again, this idea here is to open up through lat tricep tie-in. And of course, help the old thoracic spine. Oh, yep. But anyway, it's probably one of my favorite stretches, so I saved it for the end. But there are tons of other stretches that you can add to this routine. But I just wanted to give you an idea of some stretches that are considered safe and there's really not a lot of risk there. But yeah, feel free. There's lots of other stretches for hips that you could be doing, for upper body especially. Just be really mindful that you're doing everything you can to keep your thoracic spine up here. Okay, that's your thoracic spine up there. Nice and strong and open, okay? And the last thing that you're gonna wanna do is, you know, end up having a baby and you're like this already, okay? So try to compensate for the weight you might be gaining here by keeping the back strong, and make sure you're stretching out the chest. And then again, the big one for most pregnant ladies is hip flexors and piriformis area. So make sure you're doing lots of stretches for this guy and lots of stretches for here, okay? So hopefully that helps. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can always shoot us a message. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time, all right?